Halo, tes tes.
Halo, halo, tes juga.
Halo Pak Bart.
Halo, apa kabar, Mas Nuril?
Baik.
Halo, tim.
Halo. Udah? Are you ready to start? Yes.
Siap.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Matiku burung lagi. Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang semuanya. Good afternoon, everyone. Or goedemiddag, allemaal. Okay. First of all, thank you very much for the organizers for your hard work to organize this event. Winner, I've heard about Winner for several times, but this is my first ever present participations in Winner, about which I feel excited and also honored. Thank you as well for all the attendees, both in the room and also in the online sessions, online platform for your presence and to be the publics of this presentation. Hopefully by the end of the presentation, there's something worthy of bringing back home. Okay, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Ahmad Nuril Huda. I'm a researcher at the National Research and Innovation Agency. And my role here is as a moderator. So I will moderate this session, which is entitled A Transdisciplinary Minor Program on Sustainable Practices is in and Beyond the Indonesian City. Okay, as an introduction, this presentation is based on a collaborative project between the consortium of LDA universities. LDA universities consists of Leiden University, Delft University, and Erasmus University, with the Faculty of Social and Political Science of University of Indonesia. The program is entitled the Future Challenge Lab Minor and is part of the INUCoST or Indonesian Netherlands University Consortium on Sustainable Futures. This program, among other things, consists of a 6-month training on classes and also in the fields in which students are trained to conduct research, independent research into how communities in Indonesia and across the globe react to the urban challenges. Among other issues that the students learn in the classes are issues about water system, for example, water waste management, green Islam, and many others. We have 3 speakers for these presentations, including me, of course. I will introduce first our speaker. The first speaker is Bart Barendrecht. He's here. Hello, Pa Bart. Yeah, he's here online with us. He is a professor of digital anthropology at Leiden University and the UNESCO chair of the anthropology of digital diversity. Bart or Professor Bart is one of the masterminds, if not the masterminds behind the successful organizations of the minor. And in the presentations, he will share with us the historical background, the framework, the design, and the principles of education of the program. So we will have the first-hand perspectives from the person who are in charge of the program. And the second speaker, we have Awani Yamora Masta. She is Mbak, we call it Mbak Mora. Okay. She is a lecturer at the Department of International Relations, also the head of the International Office at FISIP UI. In the minor, she is the program coordinator from the part of UI, which means she plays a big role in the successful organizations of the minor. And here she will talk about the program highlights, the significance of the programs, and the programs. The program is continuing this year, so she will also talk about why the program needs to be continuous. Okay, and also about the diversity of the student backgrounds involving in the program and some challenges related to how the credit needs to be recognized and acceptable in both parties of the universities. And the last but not the least speaker is Ayu Nandita Aulia Putri. She is Ayu. She's still very young, the youngest among us. And Ayu is the fresh graduate from Universitas Indonesia, majoring at geography. She was UI students, one of the UI students joining the program, and I can say she's among one of the best, if not the best, from the program. So we will hear from Ayu perspective from the students about how she had experienced in the program, how she went to the fields, experience communicating with the communities, doing collaborative works with universities, student universities from other countries, different background, different nationalities, and different disciplines. We will talk, and I think this part from Ayu will be very interesting. Okay, I think that's for the introductions. I need to give more spaces for the main speakers. So without further ado, I will invite our first speaker, Professor Bart Barondreit. Bart, you have 10 minutes. I will invite you to speak first for 10 minutes, and I will give you later time for another talk. Okay? Okay. Thank you very much. Bart, time is yours.
Thank you, Mas Nouril. Always a pleasure to be moderated by you, and great to see the team together here. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being there in this session. I actually want to start by taking a slight step back and talk a little bit about the historical background of how this program came into being. As you all may know in this room, universities in the global north, in the global south, have been working together for decades, I often would say, often with this idea in mind of mutual benefit. At the same time, we have to be a little bit honest as well, because a lot of these partnerships, of course, weren't as equal as they often claim to be. And for many years, I think the model was very much one directional. Northern institutions, often with a lot of money, provided training, the funding for research, education, while southern partners, also in Indonesia, for example, were expected to receive and implement those programs. Now, we call that capacity building, but often it merely meant the global south wasn't seen as a co-creator, but merely a receiver. Now, a lot of us also in this room, I think, have rightfully criticized this kind of construction, which often echoes older power imbalances. Take, for example, hit and run research. Like us as Dutch researchers go to Indonesia, talk there to some people, consider the data as raw researchers, and go home and publish about that. Has resulting in the global north mostly collecting data, leaving and publishing, without the real engagement and the impact on the ground, I think. Very extractive, not really a base of building trust, and I would say it even reflects deeper problems in academia. Short-time funding, the need to speed up science, the pressure to publish fast. Think about at your side, Scopus in indexes and the like. Luckily, these things are slowly changing. It's very slow, but they are fortunately changing. And I think there are newer partnerships and moving towards the idea of co-creation. Co-creation where both sides work together from the very beginning, which means jointly deciding on the governance of curriculum, building the curriculum together, building research together, also thinking about how to fund these programs together. Because let's be honest, at the end of the day, that's the big elephant in the room. Where does the funding come from? Who has the say then to define such programs? It's a slower, I would say, also more relational approach, but it's also the approach that builds more value, I would say, for both partners or all of the parties involved. And I think that's very much the spirit behind the Future Challenge Lab. But before I explain what that is, the Future Challenge Lab, before we explain, let's very briefly look back at what particular history led us here. If you talk about Indonesia, the Netherlands, we share a deep but also a complicated history if it comes to educational exchange. And that educational exchange even goes back all the way to colonial times. But I think the real shift began in the late 1960s. 1968, both countries signed a cultural agreement. The Erasmus House in Jakarta, for example, was opened. You see here on the picture. Some of you may recognize the first incarnation of the Erasmus House. And I think for the first time, it really marked a post-colonial effort to foster more equal exchange. both in education, culture, dialogues on those. And you could say that with its own ups and downs, the collaboration has grown steadily after that. By now, thousands of Indonesian students are studying at Dutch universities, and you find student association chapters from Indonesia on almost every Dutch campus. And we also have active alumni networks that contribute to academia, civil society, the government in Indonesia. At the same time, Dutch students and scholars have also engaged with Indonesian universities, but I would say often at a lesser extent and often within very specific fields. I think law, history, anthropology, my own discipline, Islamic studies. There are some really great examples. I think Leiden has worked with Indonesian partners on law curriculum in eastern provinces. Together with UGM, we have been training historians. I'm thinking about the great Islamic studies programs we did together with Indonesian partners, INIS, the Indonesian Young Leaders programs. And there's plenty of examples, also from other universities, of course, I would say. Now, fast forward to today, and we see actually like a new chapter taking shape. And Nouriel was already referring to it in 2023. A group of 8 institutions of higher learning came together, and we launched this Indonesia Netherlands University Consortium on Sustainable Futures, or INUCoST for short. On the Dutch side, we have the Leiden Delft Erasmus universities. On the Indonesian side, 5 major universities: UI, UGM, ITB, Erlangga, and Mula Warman. Now, without boasting too much, because of course there's a certain bias, we are part of INUCoST as we sit here as a team. But I would say what is different about INUCoST is that it's not just another bilateral agreement. We very much position it as a network. It's multilateral, it's jointly funded. It's also very much grounded in shared challenges. And we're working together on issues that we feel at least matter deeply to both countries, both Indonesia and the Netherlands. Climate change, biodiversity, water management, there's a lot to share there, but also health, smart technology, and AI. All brought together under the umbrella of sustainable urbanization, future urbanization. And when we first started, also with that idea in mind of the development of Indonesia's new capital, of course, which has probably somewhat a different faith by now. Now, INUCoST combines joint education, joint research, but very importantly also community engagement. And that was very explicitly on the agenda thanks to our Indonesian partners who said like, no, not just education and research, let's also put community engagement, KKN, on the agenda, because we feel that's also needed if we do this co-creation together. We have so far been talking about joint minors, and this is one example, the joint master program, probably in the near future, but also shared thesis labs. And one of those thesis labs would be in Kalimantan with Universitas Mula Warman. All designed from the ground up by Indonesian and Dutch academics, and we do that together. Now, this is the first pilot. Under this framework of INUCoST, we have first tried to work together with this Future Challenge Lab. It was launched in late 2024. It takes fully place in Indonesia, as Nurul was saying. And the idea is simple yet very powerful. You bring students together, researchers, staff together to work on real world problems. And that we borrow from somewhere else, from organizations. It's very much grounded in the local context, but with equal input from both sides. And I leave it at that. I think we are now turning to Bamora, but Mas Nouriel, maybe you want to introduce her.
Okay, thank you, Bert. Now the discussion will be continued by Mora. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mas Noril. Thank you. Nice meeting you again, Pak Bart. All right. So in this occasion, I will be just only talking about the practicality and also what has been going on from this joint minor project. So currently, the program is currently running. So this is actually the second year of our joint minor program. Previously, we had the pilot project on 2024, where we managed to collect 8 students from Universitas Indonesia and 19 students from LDE University Alliance. So what makes unique about these projects is unlike the other international collaboration in terms of like student exchange or short-term mobility or student mobility program. So this project is exclusively designed collaboratively between our lecturers from Universitas Indonesia, particularly from our faculty, FISIP UI, together with the lecturers coming from LDE Alliance, and which has been stated by Mas Nuril. Pak Bart was actually the founder, together with our dean at that time, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pak Bart. So it was built in a very casual conversation, if I'm not mistaken, and then it's coming to a real program that has been, I think, in my personal intake, is very impactful for all the stakeholders involved in this program. So we, in the perspective of Universitas Indonesia, especially in my faculty, we really consider this project as a flagship program because it's the only program that currently involve both international students and also local students that commence for the whole semester. So unlike the student exchange program, the international students normally just join in the regular program that has been established with or without the inbound students from abroad. And other than other international mobility program like short course program or short mobility program, it normally only lasts for 3 months maximum, but this one commence for the whole semester, and it start just right the other regular program. So for this semester, it starts together with the regular program starting from 25th of August until the 1st December. Hopefully we're expecting the final presentation in the 1st December. And maybe in this occasion, I would like to also emphasize that maybe the next slide. Yeah. Okay. So why this program actually matters. So a little bit of story about the previous program. We actually had this kind of hesitation whether or not we would like to continue this project, because in the pilot project there were a lot of challenges actually, like how to maintain the disciplines of the students. Mas Nuri maybe would like to share about that as well, because Mas Nuri is actually also the lecturer that also participated in the previous project. But right now he's kind of busy. So that's why he's not able to participate again. But anyway, at that time, we were thinking that so many challenges at that time, handling the program, handling the students, and also the different perspective on about the expectations coming from the students and also the officers of the organizers of this program. We thought that whether we might have like a second thought whether or not we would like to continue this program. So, but then we come to a decision when we saw the final presentations conducted by IU and other participants that joined the 2024 project. We saw a really how to say a really impactful insights, and it's not only felt by the students involved but also all stakeholders that have been involved in the program. So with this project, the methodology is not only the in-class session, but we combine three methodologies. Further explanation will be explained by Professor Bart. But they were prepared with the in-class sessions for the minimum of 16 meetings, 16 sessions. They also have to submit their scrapbook for each of the themes. And then after that, they will be joining some field trips. Last year, we conducted 2 field trips. This year, also 2 field trips. This year, we conduct to Colonial Heritage in Depok and visiting Dutch Embassy. And then the last one is the field work with the output of the simple policy brief. And that's the moment actually when they presented the policy brief, we then realized that, oh, it is actually a really good program for the students and also the stakeholders involved. Because at that time, we were not only inviting the lecturers that has been the supervisor for them, but we also invited all the interviewees and also the source person that has been interviewed by the students to also witness what has been what has been done by the students during the field work of the research. So yeah, and then here we are. We are in the 2025 program. So previously we only managed 28 students, but this year we have 40 students, which is actually the maximum capacity of a one class. It's a lot of number of students actually. 25 students from LDE. And 15 students from Universitas Indonesia. Last year, we made it only exclusive for Faculty of Social and Political Science, and at that time, the maybe due to some of the limitations again because it was a very pilot project, so the demand and also the how to say the interest of the student is not as high as this year. So we then invited two other participants from FMIPA, Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, and then this year we opened to whole faculties of the university. So it's not only for FISIP, it's not only for Faculty of Social and Political Science. Right now we managed to also involve other faculties, but sadly, maybe it's also a lesson learned from us or a challenge that needs to be developed. Right now, this year, only still two faculties that are involved in this program due to some reasons that we'll be explaining later on in the lesson learned session. In this year, we are not only also involving the lectures in Faculty of Social and Political Science. We involve the lectures from Faculty of Humanities, archaeology particularly, and we also involve the other lectures from BRIN. Yeah, your colleague, to also participate in our field trip project to explain about the colonial heritage during the field trip session. Yeah, yeah. So based on that, we hope maybe in the next year, or we believe that, yeah, hopefully there will be a next year program for this joint and minor program, and we think it's actually really matters to at the very least parties that involved, which is the LDE part and also Universitas Indonesia. First of all, is about the reputation and feasibility. um so maybe some of the lecturers or international officers already known that we are actually encouraged to accelerate the implementation of the internationalizations program. So in terms of the reputation, it really in line with the ranking of the university. So it's really important for university to actually increase the number of their rank, in local and also globally. One of the indicator itself is the internationalizations or the implementation of the internationalizations program. So we believe that by having this program continuously as an annual program, it can be benefited both for the UI and also LDE. And why also it matters, again, it's about innovative design. What as I what have mentioned earlier, this is exclusive project that has been designed exclusively by our faculty and also LDE, in the scheme or in the theme of interdisciplinary. So it can involve a lot of students, not only coming from the background of PhysEb or coming from the social science, but we have students coming from multiple backgrounds. And also, it's proven by the demand of the students. After we successfully conducted the 2024 program, we received so many questions from our students, specifically in UI, asking when the second year program will be conducted, even before we actually evaluating the 2024 program. So we see that, okay, after seeing the successful, at least at that time we considered as successful, we saw there are a lot of demand already because they already see this program as a prospective program that can be used for them for the independent learning, or we call the so-called MBKM project in the next year. And of course, after conducted the last year program, we conducted the evaluations from the lectures, from the officers as well. And though it was a pilot, and we recognized there are a lot of changes there and there, but we actually quite surprised with the survey coming from the students, because somehow, even though there are a lot of challenges, they saw it as as a very recommended program that they would like to promote it to their juniors anyway. So we see around like 90%, 97% of satisfactions, and still a strong recommendations for continuations. So, yeah, okay. So, also we see a very good student development actually from coming from this program. Maybe next slide. Yeah. So these are, you can read it by yourself there. Why we believe it should be whoever is going to lead Universitas Indonesia, particularly in physics. We hope it can still be a continued project, because in the Universitas Indonesia perspective, we will be gaining for the students. They can get credit up to 20 SKS or 20 credits. And from the perspective of LDE students, they can gain up to 30 ECTS, which is a lot actually. And with these credits, we expect them to have a full commitment in this program, and basically they don't have to enroll to any particular courses anymore for the whole semester. So it's really benefited for our students. Previously, we only have the scheme of internships, student exchange, which also require a lot of financial necessities in that time. But here, the students from Universitas Indonesia can just be in Indonesia, still gaining the international exposures from the students from LDE, and still can get the maximum amount of number of credits, which is up to 20 SKS for this project. So I think it's really promising, and it's really beneficial for the students of Universitas Indonesia as well. So maybe next. Do I still have time, Mas Norel? Okay. All right. Okay. The timeline that we have this year and last year are quite the same. But this year it's more structurized, in my opinion, because last year the parties involved was not really focusing on this particular project. They were like handling so many multiple projects, and we would like to thank also Bazueta, who is not here, but she was also the key person that was involved in the previous program. So maybe this is a timeline that I would like to share in case maybe next year there will be still a program for this. Hopefully, Pak Marik, we still continue this program next year. um, from April to May, normally we will be designing the program concept. We will be designing the curriculum, how many meetings that should be conducted in class, how many field trips that will be conducted, and how many budget that will be involved, what are the sponsors, what are the support that will be the responsibility from the LDE, what are the responsibility from UI, for example. And then we will be discussing also who will be the head of the curriculum, who will be the key persons in handling the rubric materials, and then the evaluations, things like that. So normally we will start discussing it from April to May. So by May, hopefully the final design of the program will be created. And then from May until June, we will be conducting the selection process. So the unique part of this program is we don't do such like a collaborative selections. So we trust each other. We trust that UI will provide the high quality students, and LDE will also be providing the high quality students from their side. So but we commit to a certain standards on what kind of students that will be accepted in this program. So last year we did it in an independent manner. So LD, they have like their own criteria, and we from Universitas Indonesia, we have our own criteria. But this year, we managed to come to agreement that this is the standard that we have to follow when it comes to selection process. At the very least, in the administrative perspective, they have to fulfill certain of motivation letters and then recommendations from the lectures, and they have to state that they have a full commitment towards this program. Yes, things like that. And then after the selection process, we come up with 25 students from LDE and 15 students from Universitas Indonesia. Okay. And then after we receive the name of the students, we are processing their visa because they're staying here for more than a month. They have like in class session. In the immigration regulations, the LDE students are required to have visa coming here to get the permission to study and do other activities in Universitas Indonesia. And we gave a time frame like 2 months because the process is a bit long. The requirements sometimes that we have to go back and forth and also asking for confirmations because the letter that is required here somehow it's quite different with the letter that provided in Netherlands. So that's why we give this time frame to make sure everything is settled. And then until July, in this time period, normally we will setting the accommodations. This year we have Marisa as well, who also participated and also joining this meeting today. So we arrange what kind of accommodations and where they will be staying, because before we issuing any visa or even submitting for application, they have to have a certain and confirmed address to apply for a visa. So that's also in this time period. And then after that, on August and December, which is where the program is started from 25th of August. Normally, we will start with a welcoming ceremony where this boring speeches involved. There will be speakers, of course, the authorities like the dean, the rector, if he is available, and then the representative from LDE will be giving speeches like opening remarks, welcoming all of the students, and me as the program coordinator also give like the report, like a brief report about what has been going on through the project's preparations. And then after that we will be conducting the orientations to set uh, universal expectations on what they should be expecting throughout this program. Last year experience, some of them might think that joining this program is also yeah, thank you, Mas Nuril, is also part of their opportunity to explore Indonesia as a whole. So their mindset is not, the priority is not only for the minor, but the priority also for the traveling, because Indonesia is very, very interesting country for them. So during the orientation, we set expectations. We let them know that you're coming here. Your first priority is to join and also complete this program, and then after that, we'll be giving you the time to travel and also explore more about Indonesia. And then after that, they will start learning Bahasa Indonesia first. We conducted for the LDE students, and it's also credited for 5 ECTS actually. So we prepare them for like 10 meetings of BIPA, Bahasa Indonesia Penutur Asing, language course for Bahasa Indonesia. And then after that, they will start the in-class session of the Future Challenge Lab conducted by both LDE lecturers and also the Universitas Indonesia lecturers. And we are expecting to have the final presentations. So right now they are in the process of finalizing the in-class sessions. The fieldwork will be started on November, and the 1st December will be the final presentations of all the students. If you're interested, feel free to check our Instagram at eOfficeb. We will be announcing the whole thing, and normally the public presentations will be also open for public. There will be link shared. So if you're interested, feel free to join the final presentation in 1st December. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this is a little bit of information about the students' backgrounds. As you know, knowing from the names of the program is interdisciplinary, so it's not exclusive for only social science students. So as you can see, the background of the students are very, very diverse. In the 2024, we even have the molecular science and technology. Even me personally, I'm not really familiar with this major, but here we have these people collaborating with the social science and also other backgrounds, other student backgrounds, and they managed to come up with, some insights and ideas to overcome the challenge in Indonesian cities. And this year, we have the increment of the student backgrounds, uh, engineering, law, economics, geography, social welfare, and other majors. Sorry? No, 40 students, 25 for LDE, 25 students from LDE, and 15 students from Universitas Indonesia. The reason why of the compositions, we can explain because it's also part of the challenges in the perspective of Indonesia. So yeah, I think that's all from me. I'll forward it back to Mas Norel.
Thank you very much, Mbak Mora. Now the discussion will go back to Professor Barbaran, right? On the future challenge lab design. Okay, please, Barbara.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we can see the. Now we can do with this next slide. I think Mamora already briefly explained that we have mainly four important units. And we start out with a course on future Indonesia, which is very much looking at how cities in the majority world, but through the lens of Indonesia, are changing, where they come from, colonial situation, post-colonial situation, the here and now. But very much focusing on also at the future. And what do you do with carbon emissions? What do you do with AI, food delivery, multi-diversity in a big town as Jakarta, for example? We do some Bahasa Indonesia for the Dutch students, the LDE students. Not imagining that they will be fluently in Indonesia. We don't aim for that, but considering at least like language as a key to culture and to give them some respect for the way they treat their fellow students, the fellow staff, ways of politely addressing people they work with. So learning actually Indonesian culture by having a taster of the language, I would say. There is a week-long, very intense design sprint in which I'm personally teaching together with Nouril. I did that last year. It was very nicely. We are teaching students from a non-social scientific background how to do social scientific background, which at times can be very confusing. You're talking to students from aerospace or civil engineering, and they say like, "Hey, Bart, we are going now out to a community. I interviewed 2 or 3 people, but how is that producing data? How is that ever going to be representative?" Have very confusing for people who have never worked with those methods. They will rely, for example, on statistics or other more quantitative approaches. But we feel that it is very productive to learn through confusion, learn from each other's methods. And we also do invite students from the other disciplines to come with their own methods, oftentimes also creative methods, drawing, photo elicitation, to see what we together can produce. Now, the idea in the design sprint is that in a full week, we have like a half a day every day working on initial questions that we borrow from partners that we work with, the Asian Development Bank, UNESCO, the Dutch Embassy in Jakarta. We borrow their problems, try to turn them into questions, and then have a team composed of LDE, but also Indonesian students, very different disciplines, work on that particular question for a week to come up with a proposal. And so for my questions, sub-questions, thinking about, but what is then the kind of data that you need to answer those sub-questions? Where am I going to look for that? What kind of methods do I even need? And at the end of the week, to our surprise, there are full-fledged proposals. 5, 6 proposals that we think are okay enough to go out into the field with. We do that very closely with our partners from UI, Universitas Indonesia, because each of the teams will be supervised by a staff member of FISIP, of the Social Science Department, and with which they can spar a little bit as well. And then we send them out into Jakarta, had the field work that they're going to do, or practical fieldwork training, we call it. It's very much focused on Jakarta, and for very practical reasons. Indonesian students often have other things to do as well. And we don't want people having to travel everywhere. Of course, there would be additional costs for staying overnight. So we focus on Jakarta and have them work for a full 3 weeks there, and then come up with a design for a policy brief that Maura was already referring to, and about which I will say a little bit more in a minute. Maybe we can have the next slide, I'm thinking. No, this slide, thank you, the previous slide, don't worry. I want to say something very briefly about the educational thinking that went into the Future Challenge Lab, because it may be nice for other people thinking about such a minor program or an equivalent program. How could you develop that? What are the kind of things that you're facing, that you're running into? So the challenges of the Future Challenge Lab. Now, the core idea is very simple. We don't want students to just learn in the classroom. And we want them to learn tackling real world problems in real places. So hence the field visits, we practice interviews in communities, we do the design workshop and have them really go out and try and what it looks like doing research for themselves. And so it's not about theory and isolation. It's very much about discussing ideas, but immediately putting those ideas to test in the outside world. And with real communities, with real experts. At the heart of the program, we work with 4 principles: challenge-based learning, team science, co-creation, and we like to think of this as a transdisciplinary program. Now, let's very quickly unpack those things. Starting with challenge-based learning, students work in international and interdisciplinary teams. And so you have ideally people from urban studies, engineering, environmental science, computer engineers, you name it, working together in a team from 4 to 6 people. They don't start with a ready-made question. Instead, we borrow problems, other people's problems, other communities' problems. And we work with partners like WWF, UNESCO, but also Indonesian NGOs like WALI. And with that, like talking to the people affiliated to those organizations, students start building their own research questions. And that's often, of course, a very difficult thing. It may sound as easy as it is, but thinking about good, relevant questions takes some time. And we do that in class, we discuss, we have them work and rework their questions. But in the end, we have exciting questions. I think it shows students that academic work can have a real world impact. Even while they're very early in their career, they can work with big societal partners. It also teaches them how messy, how complex, how often constraint filled real life decision making can be. It's very easy to think of a question and think like solutions, but there's a lot of factors you need to take into account. And hence we involve others to borrow their problems. Second principle is team science. And students work in a diverse group, very different disciplines, very different cultural backgrounds as well. Now, you may all understand this comes with friction. And for us, that's partly, I would say largely, the point. And this friction can be very productive. And we don't see those cultural frictions as problems that need to be fixed. No, we see them as changes to learn. It's one of those future challenges that are actually part of the lab. And students have to figure out how to work in a team. That makes a lot of students very nervous. Some disciplines are much more individualistically oriented than others, for example, are. So how do you share responsibility? How you come up with questions that you share and that you agree with? How to disagree, which is also an art in itself, and how to find a path forward when methods or expectations often clash, that you're hoping for something completely different. Now, the stereotype, you all will probably recognize, but direct, blunt Dutch communication, meeting in class with polite Indonesian styles. And we oftentimes find out that Dutch students are very vocal in the beginning, become more modest over time, because they see like they are not the ones bringing the solutions, but there's a lot of solutions already there. Indonesian studies students the other way around. And they start oftentimes as very modest, but find out in over the weeks that oftentimes they already have been knowing the solutions. And there is local agency already there. There is all sorts of solutions for the big global challenges. And so we're using that kind of moments to reflect on power, assumptions, how to build your team inclusively. And that's very much, I think, part of the training. Now, the first principle is co-creation, and I know that oftentimes that becomes mostly shallow rhetoric, and we all co-create nowadays, but what does that actually mean? And it's a very tough lesson, I would say, for the students. But in principle, rather than doing research on people, we encourage them to do research with them. And it's difficult, of course, for the LDE students because they hardly know the language. It may also be difficult for our Indonesian students who sometimes have heard about a particular community, have never ever set any step within that community. And so they equally face anxieties of their own, you could say. We are not pretending that this always works perfect, co-design or co-creation. Yeah, there's language barriers, and we try to avoid Indonesian students just becoming language buddies. We don't want that. The Dutch or LDE students, which come from all sorts of countries in the world, have to do their best. But of course, they can help each other with there. There's time constraints. The students have enormous big ideas in the beginning what they're going to do, especially methodologically, but they soon find out 3 weeks is not that much. And uneven power dynamics remain real. And it's what they have to reflect on. And that sometimes, give the example of Dutch students having more money to travel. That's something that we really want to address in the program. And that they should be realistic in finding their fieldwork sites, also to align it with what is possible for their fellows. We push our students to work with care. I think that's the most important message. Care, humility, transparency. Even while you can't fully co-create with a organization or a community, ethical engagement matters. It should be about that, caring for the communities you work with. And I have to say that students often come away with a much deeper understanding of that. Trust, listening, and they often overestimate that they think we have to ask things, we need to master Indonesian, but sometimes just listening and observing can do a whole lot. But especially respect for the very local knowledge, which shapes meaningful research. And then finally, bringing together academic and non-academic voices to solve real problems. Students produce things like policy briefs for stakeholders. Mohan was already referring to that.
Can you
We
speed
were,
up?
sorry,
Can,
no,
can you speed up your presentation? You have one.
absolutely. Mohan was already referring to that we were very surprised what they come up with after a period of a couple of weeks only. Hey, we were very proud of them. Things that really can compete with, let's say, professional research that has been going on for a couple of months, and they produce very nice reports. Maybe the next slide, and I'm rounding it up and giving it on to Ayu, who by far is the most exciting speaker on our team. But maybe as an introduction to what she will be presenting, Nouriel, we are working with basically two methods: the scrapbook, you already heard, and the policy brief. So the scrapbook is mostly in kind of personal archive, photo sketches, reflections. It's meant to slow down, pay attention, actually where theory meets street life. Students have been learning, reading about Jakarta, but now we invite them to see, to feel, to sense, to smell. How does Jakarta challenge their assumptions? And so some of these scrapbooks consist of commenting on stickers, on songs, the writing on the walls. They aren't just diaries, but we think that it helps students to make sense of what they are experiencing. This second version, we are also working with scrapbook circles, led by Marisa, who is also there in the room, I understand, to have students discuss with each other how they make sense. Now, we contrast that particular method of the scrapbook, which is very personal, very reflective, with the policy brief. After 3 weeks of fieldwork, leading up to the end of the whole minor, students team up and take what they have learned and translate it into a very brief, 4 or 5 pages policy brief aimed at local stakeholders, NGOs, city officials, community groups. And we ask them for short, plain language documents, very visual, but with real recommendations and grounded in grassroots evidence they have been collected. I think it's nice to give you a flavor of that because at the heart, that's what the Future Challenge Lab is about. And we are very proud to have Baayu with us, herself an alumni of the program. And I think the only one in my lifetime history which got a 11 out of 10 as a grade from me. So Baayu, hope that you're not too much intimidated, but please, floor is yours.
All right, that's okay. Hopefully, I'm audible. Yeah. First of all, thank you, Professor Ward, for the intro. It was actually really, really interesting and an honor for me to be able to talk about the minor, which, of course, like undeniable, becomes like things that impacted my academic career really hugely. So, like, first of all, okay, we the methods of the minor is something that I have never experienced before in my class. So like we had scrapbook and also policy brief. As part of the pilot project, the scrapbook was like not really, they don't really specify what kind of scrapbook they expect us to be, or like what is the journal they want it to look like. So I feel like those things make us because like there's no limitation upon things, it increase our creative thinking. We had our own space where we can like express ourselves in either like you want to draw something, you want to sing, you want to put like a poem you once had, or like once even like telling about your own experience or like culture shocks in Jakarta. It's also like you can submit it as part of your scrapbook, which is for me is a really good way for you to reflect to the reflect your life and also the Indonesia challenges. Because like for me, I feel like Indonesia is like a house. So like in order for you to be able to understand the house fully, you need to go outside. And Minor has provided like the opportunity for us to interact with people outside of Indonesia, which is like the Netherlands, without having to go outside of the country of Indonesia itself. So like for example, right now, everyone in this room, we know that this room is big and this room is so cold, say, because it is also raining outside. But if we go outside, we can realize and like compare to the other, like, oh yeah, there are a more bigger room here in this area, or like, yeah, there are more colder place outside of this area. And the way for you to do it is to actually like to participate yourself or like involve yourself to go outside and to learn about it, which is like something that I found through the minor program. Maybe next slide. And now, of course, uh, yeah. Now, of course, when you already understand, when you, now when you already understand or like know your house, of course you want to criticize it. And if you want to criticize it, there's room for improvement. This is how we implement, how I understand the policy brief existed in this program. So like for the policy brief, basically our supervisor gave us prompt about what challenges in Indonesia or like Jakarta in particular that we want to talk about. And then we came with that mission and then go to that field and try to understand and to see people how they are doing it in real life, which for me as an Indonesian student it myself, it is like a really interesting opportunities to be able to involve myself in a real time in a real field of society. So like for example here we have the trash panda from the WWF, which they talk about the waste management in Indonesia. That's the problem. That's the mission. And then when they came there, oh yeah, they realized that there are problems about the waste management system in Indonesia and how the local community tried to fight upon it, but like the resources might not be enough for them. Thus, they came up with the policy recommendation to make like a reporting app and to do a campaign in order to make the waste management at least better than the status quo. Next. And then we also have like the heritage, which located in the Belanda Depok Lama, which talk about the Belanda Depok community in Depok. It is really really interesting because like not everyone might know about the Belanda Depok, but like through this policy brief we realized that this exists and we want it to be more exposed to the outside world. Thus they came with the idea of having like the collaboration between universities and also other heritage group to come hand in hand and to preserve this site of heritage. And then there was also Green Islam, which is also interesting because like they talk about how they can explore the Islamic values and how these Islamic values can drive the environmental actions, which is so amazing, and how they see the potential of like using the mosque networks for the climate outreach and partnering with Islamic charities for renewable energy funding. Next. So you might ask yourself, and like if you ask myself 1 year ago, it will be like a bit impossible for me to came out with such brilliant ideas, right? So the minor program through their excursions and also fieldwork also train us to involve in the real life society and to have like a hands-on learning, which from this we learned about we we learn and we understand about what the society really needs and what kind of approach and what options we have in order to have those kind of recommendations. Like for example, as what Mbak Mora, Pak Bart, and Mas Nuril already mentioned before, we went to Benteng Heritage where we learned about the Indonesian Chinese, or what we call Peranakan, heritage site exists in Indonesia. Particularly, it was in Tangerang, and then there was also an NGO from Indonesia called Walhi, and then we also went to the Dutch embassy, and then we also go to the Bahari Museum where we learn about the fisher Indonesia. And what is really interesting is that even though the excursions was done in Indonesia, we were able to see like the colonizations and also to learn about the Netherlands here, which like making it really relates to the minor program and makes us really more interested towards the program itself. And yeah, maybe next. So yeah, the how. Okay, so maybe I want to tell you a little bit more about my group, which is Kampung Sawah. It was really, really interesting. So we came with a mission from our supervisor to learn about the interfaith harmony between the Christian, Catholics, and Islam. So during our fieldwork, we try to connect to the local people uh, through this the golden triangle, or the Christians, Catholics, and Islam's worship place. And then from there we found out the problem that because of the increase of urbanization, there are a lot of newcomers, and because of the building of the toll road in around that area, they built like an exclusive residency area, which really like clashes with the local values that Kampung Sawah used to have, which is basically about the tolerancy and also to make peaceful in their community, right? So like we thankfully had our supervisor, which then our supervisor will lead and guide us to for the discussions, and then to have all of our ideas, and then we came out with several solutions, or like what we call as policy recommendations for this, which one of it for the Kampung Sawah is to make an organization of Kampung Sawah initiative. But what makes it really, really interesting is because like we have people from various backgrounds. Say I have friends from the political science, where he then try to try to try to make and navigate about how the policy can be done with for people who are who might not have like those big source of people who understand the politics in that area. And then we have people from the security studies, where they learn about they did the assessment, and they also did like the prevention in regards to make it more safer for them if they want to propose this idea. So we want to make the community more sustain, and to make it a better place to live in. So like as a bachelor students, knowing that we can have such a big impact by doing the recommendation already become like one of the big, and make this program become more meaningful for us. Next. But yeah, this is maybe like what for me like one of the reason why I really want to promote this, because like this program really combines between the social sciences and also the natural sciences. People who has like say people who has like say person who study computer science able to make an app to help the community become better. Those who has say architectural can like make a design for it to for the community. And for me myself as a geography student, I did the mapping and also the spatial analysis in order to make like the community be able to like interact with with each other. So like honestly, finding ways to contribute to the program with our own specialization and study has been one of the things that we look forward to for every classes and every meeting that we have during the program. Yeah, because like each individuals, I believe, bring knowledge from our own interdisciplinary between our own program. Like for me in geography, we have like physical geography, human geography, and also remote sensing. But here, with the knowledge that I know priorly from my major, I able to like implement it in a more interdisciplinary setup with people from the political science, from the computer science, say, or security studies, and more. And also having the assessment to be like in the form of discussions and presentations really encourage participation of everyone and elevate uh, creative thinking. So yeah, and especially like for my last 1 minute, I would like to say that being like a fresh graduating from this program really elevate my work in the job workforce because of the experience I had, like interacting with foreigners and also doing an interdisciplinary work. It really add up to the portfolio, and I believe in the real life case it will be like the initial step for a better things for me myself or maybe for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayu. Very nice presentations, and yeah, I mean, your story make me flatter because I mean, well, I was part of the program as well. I was the academic coordinator. I was also in the class, but I didn't realize until today that it has improved a lot, and it's very impactful to the students. About which I'm very no, I'm kind of like disappointed that I'm not in the program anymore. Okay, but now this is not for this is also for evaluations, and it's time for reflections. I will invite the speakers to give some reflections on the program by questioning, for example, what kind of lesson that we can learn from the programs, or what are the biggest challenge to do a program like minor program in UI or in other places. And also, what do you think is the most important ingredients to do uh, a minor program, a program like this, to be successful? And yeah, so questions like that maybe can help us also how to improve. Yeah, and I know there's a lot of improvement, but I think, I mean, there's always loopholes, there's always a room how to make it better, whether to implement it in the context of Universitas Indonesia or in other places. For example, by thinking of how to make it more inclusive to the other universities in Indonesia, or perhaps to universities in another south, regions. And I think, yeah, that kind of the questions is important to think about it. So I will invite first, who want to be first? Bart, yeah, you want to say something as a reflections?
Very quickly, because it would be nice if there's other reflections from the panel, of course, and by you, Noril. You were very much part of this as well. So maybe very
I will do it after the three of you have the reflections.
okay. So maybe a very quick observation that we often say, like, yes, we are in this together. We are co-creating equitable partnership. That should be what matters. I think we oftentimes believe very much in that very rhetoric. At the same time, it's hard work, equal partnerships, I realize. Not we wanted this to be a shared program from the start. I think when we first started, we didn't realize like how difficult administratively this also is. And I'm very grateful to Bamora, Basweta, who very much behind the screens have solved a lot of these administrative matters as well. Also, I think we didn't realize there's all these cliches and stereotypes of people in the class from different backgrounds, disciplinary, but also geographically, how that could work. That, of course, is samely applies also to the staff. And that we are thinking that we are both into social sciences and we're in this together. At the same time, so we still speak a very different language because we are raised in different teaching cultures. And hence, I think we put in the slides here learning lessons rather than lessons learned. I think this is very much an ongoing process. We're still very much learning from each other, both the staff and the students, how to improve on this, how to make it more polished. But it's not something that you set equity or forget, but an ongoing thing. And in that sense, trust, openness, the willingness to discuss, because there's always irritation of how you would do things yourself. You think like, hey, but why don't the others get this? We need to reflect on this and take the time, I would say. So that's my input for now. Let's listen to Mora and Ayu.
Hello. So thank you, Pak Bart. Maybe in terms of institutions, in the perspective of institutions, I believe this we had actually frankly speaking, we had a lot of major changes actually in terms of financial support, to be specific. But why this program is actually still happening, I believe is because of the idea that we has the same understanding and has the same commitment that this program is actually impactful and also beneficial for all stakeholders involved. And the main important thing is there is a willingness from the both institutions, both from the lecturers and also from the students, and also from um, the leaders of both institutions. I cannot deny I have to thank my supervisor, Mbak Riris, who is not here, and also Mas Aji, our dean here, who has the same commitment that no matter what, even though that maybe we have some kind of like a lot of challenges to actually support this or financially to be specific, but we have to make this happen because we saw the impact in the last year and we commit to again continue this program. So there is the same how to say willingness from both institutions to actually think that even though we still like about everything, but in it's a very promising and a good investment towards our students anyway. So maybe a little bit of sharings about the challenges last year. I think it's still the same challenges for this year. Like typical inbound students, I think it's everyone's problem from the International Affairs Office. The LDE students or the other students abroad, normally they will have this kind of tendency to, this is Indonesia, let's have some let's have fun to in Indonesia. So normally they already have their own original plan before even coming to Indonesia. So that kind of challenges normally to actually give the understanding to them that you are here because the guarantee of Universitas Indonesia in terms of immigration office, we are quite strict about the regulations, things like that. But this year in particular, we also have the challenges specifically about what has been happening about the political instability that happens due to the demonstrations on September. At that time, we received a lot of questions from our LDE students and also about the restrictions coming to campus as well. So there was some kind of fear among the students from LDE. They were like asking, "Can I just go back home?" For example, that kind of fairness. But thank God, uh, I was not in Indonesia at the time. I was in Japan. A disclaimer: I was not escaping the situation. I was there for a business trip, but because of the cooperations that we have between the KITLV and also the Universitas Indonesia, I would like to also personally thank you for Mbak Risa and also Pak Marik to has the initiative to come and also calm down the situations among the students in LDE, and also to give more perspective because Pak Marik here is a Dutch, so he can give more perspective to make the students even have more understanding towards what has been going on in Indonesia. So that kind of unpredictable challenges, actually we didn't predict that, but that happened. So we think in that moment I was thinking that as long as we have the same willingness, the same commitment towards this program, we can encounter anything. um and also from Universitas Indonesia perspective is it's still hard for us to actually gain as many students as possible, because again the credit that they can get for up to 20 SKS or 20 credits, it requires them to have a full commitment here. And sometimes having that kind of 20 credits full commitment, they cannot enroll to another course, which is limit them to actually gain to actually graduate 3.5 years, which is in this era, not gaining your cum laude degree somehow it's a really really big problem for the generations nowadays. So having IU here, I hope for all that is presenting and attending these occasions can give insights that cum laude is not everything, right? So you can gain more experience, you can make the full potential of your learning journey during your higher education study. So that's maybe from me. Maybe Ayu.
Okay, if the time allowed, maybe I will just like say one or two uh, statements. But like disclaimer, I did get a cum laude together with my friends, and I believe like some other students from the minor, like I know my friend who came from the same major as me also got her cum laude, like which like I want to show you how this minor doesn't restrict you to like become the full potential of yourself. Instead, the minor program is like exposing yourself to be able to like know your self potential and to explore it more, because like um to like one of the most remarkable things that I really love about this program is about like the connection that we made along the way. Like I am exposed to the KITLV and also the Dutch embassy. I know now have maintained a good relationship with the international office of VISIP UI. So I came from the Faculty of Science, and I was also still in touch with my supervisor, whom he came from the anthropology for my thesis, which he helped me a lot for me having like the social perspectives, which later like made my thesis examiner says that I have really interesting perspective for social side, something that maybe my major have not really dived deep into it, which is like really interesting, and there are a lot of like potential in the future. So for UI, Mbak Mora, Mas Nurel, Pak Bart, maybe it was like a really hard work and challenging, but for me, like the students, hopefully I speak on behalf of my friends too, that everything, it was really worth it. Thank you.
We have 3 minutes remaining. Maybe if the one question from the audience, if there are any, or I will, because we also have another student from previous minor, Mas Bagus. He was also the students of the minor. Maybe he want to say something about your experience, or no? Okay, okay. A question from the others, the audience. No. If I want to say something about. I mean, I think one of the important parts of how it can run successfully is the notion of reciprocity. I mean, its partners. This works not only for the partner institutions, but also for the lecturers and also the students. I mean, they have to work together. They have to give what they have, and also to accept that other peoples have different or distinct characters and distinct capacity to for example, to finish a task, or to finish a collaborative projects. Because often, well, it looks, yeah, in our presentations it looks very smooth, but in practice it was not at all, right? We had argument, we had a lot of talking, a lot of discussion, like to decide one. Yeah. No, this is important to decide one, for example, one decisions of when to do a course, for example. It kind of it can be, it can take a long time, long discussions, like many cancellations, and but finally we manage to do it because we lower our ego, we lower our expectations sometimes, and we allow other people to come up with the ideas, and then we try it. Okay, this is better, and if not work, if didn't work, then we tried another way. Okay, this is working. So that kind of reciprocity is important. It's impossible in any kind of partnership if we work on our ego. Like I think no, we can apply it in other kinds of life, I think. But no, I want what I want to emphasize, and I'm very proud of my colleagues in the minor, as also in the classroom. The students in the classroom is the willingness to accept their peers, the willingness to work together to achieve, as she said, as Mbak Mora said, to achieve one goal, commitment to achieve one goal. I think that's, and to have a common understanding about what kind of goal that we want to achieve is important. So that's, I think, one of the key points that make this program successful. I think, yeah, I think by saying that, okay, by saying that, it means I also close the sessions. Oh,
Thank you, Mas Nuril. Thank you, team.
okay, thank you very much for all the speakers, for Pak Brad, for Mbak Ayu, and also for Mbak Mora, and also for the audience here, and also online. Okay, see you again maybe next year, winner. In.